Hi, welcome to episode 44 of Talk About the Passion. I'm your host, Christian Campagna, and today I'm joined by one of the regulars on this podcast, Brian Smith. This episode is titled Get on the Mic, and it's a discussion of the band the Beastie Boys. Brian and I are both longtime fans, and like the episode we did with Guy Weatherby about Rush, this was a good chance to nerd out over this important band in our musical histories. Their place in underground music, and popular culture can't be understated. Unlike the Rush one, in this episode we pretty much go through their entire catalog rather than pick like our top 5 favorite songs. This is a pretty loose conversation about a band we both truly love and have spent a lot of time listening to and thinking about. So it's always fun to get together with someone else with the same passion for an artist. You may hear some cigarette lighter clicks and tapping of things around the recording, which may or may not have to do with some of the meandering that starts happening around Hello Nasty, the Five Boroughs, and that era. But I think we keep the discussion on track most of the time here. Brian is also one of the funniest guys I know, so it's always a blast hanging with him and talking to him. So I think you'll get a kick out of this, especially if you're a fan of the band. A couple more things. I'm on social media. Facebook and Instagram are my main outlets. Search Talk About the Passion podcast, and you should be able to find me there. I keep those up to date as much as possible, and I'm always posting around when a new episode happens, so you can keep up to date there. You can listen to this podcast on all of the cool places you listen to podcasts: Podbean, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, even YouTube at this point. If you or someone you love has mesothelioma, call the... Oh, wait a minute. If you or someone you know would like to be on this podcast, send me a message on one of those social media spots, and we will set something up. Okay, so here's episode 44, Get on the Mic with Brian Smith and myself. Thanks for listening. Hi, welcome to Talk About the Passion. I'm here today with Brian Smith.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the Beastie Boys today, who we're both huge fans of. And, let's get into this. So,
let's do it.
When did you first hear the Beastie Boys?
Same as almost everybody, I guess, Licensed to Ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know, living out here in the sticks, no idea about punk rock or about the Beasties being a punk band. Mm-hmm. I heard, Fight for Your Right to Party or whatever, the first thing, that I ever heard for sure.
Yeah. And was it the record? Or did you...
Would have been, I think that record was so big,
yeah.
I'm sure, 100% positive, I heard whatever the hit songs on it or whatever were on the radio,
right,
just at the beach or whatever, right. And but that was enough to make me go buy the album, and I think my first copy of it was a tape for sure. Cassette.
Yeah, same here.
Yep.
And so had you heard any hip-hop music at that point, which I think for at least people like me,
only stuff that you would hear like out here in the boondocks of like New England, like if it was a big enough thing that it ever was on a TV thing or anything, which of course hip hop wasn't that back then, but like the Sugar Hill Gang, stuff like that probably, but I didn't really know, and I had heard about it, what hip hop was and stuff, but I was definitely not familiar with it. No.
And I think at least for me, we called it was rap music too.
We just called it rap back then, I guess, and although for sure, some people I know definitely were down with probably like Run DMC and stuff like that. So I was aware of it, but I wasn't deeply into it. I mean, I would have to credit the Beastie Boys with that for sure. Like going, I'm going to dig deeper into this as a genre.
I was into Run DMC, LL Cool J in high school, and then the Beastie Boys came along, and I loved Run DMC and LL Cool J.
Yep.
UTFO, stuff like that.
Oh, awesome, yeah.
And, but I couldn't relate to it as much as, it was because of where I was from. And so when the Beastie Boys came along, they were white rappers, but the fact that, they were playing shows with Run DMC and,
it was...
Def Jam was putting their music out, it was, okay.
Yeah, I remember at the time, the other thing is here in this town that I live in, we have a still to this day we have a very active roller rink.
Yeah.
Right up the street here called Roller Kingdom, and of course, Run DMC and all that stuff would be getting. So that's what I mean is like I knew about it and I had heard some of that stuff around school a little bit, but I didn't really know what it was.
Right.
And I found out after the Beastie Boys, though. Of course, I went digging. But I think at the time it didn't occur to me. I don't remember it occurring to me that they were white dudes making rap.
Right.
Like I probably wasn't even familiar enough with rap to know that it was almost specifically a black thing. It was just a genre to me, music.
And I always, and still even now, confuse sort of that early timeline because there was so many different levels of it. Like pre-Licensed to Ill, there was the Cookie Puss 12-inch, which my brother had, which was just kind of like a fun song. It wasn't necessarily a rap
I think it's
song.
on this, right?
And then there was the punk stuff, the Young and the Useless, which was their early name. And then they had that She's On It 12-inch.
Oh, She's On It, yeah, that was cool.
Which I think used. I'm thinking there was another 12-inch that we had called Rock Hard, which used sampled Back in Black by AC/DC.
Oh,
and
amazing.
So there was all that, and then
because that was this was all obviously too before you had to pay money. People just literally stole samples.
And then Licensed to Ill came out, and it just seemed like all that other stuff was leading up to that, but it didn't in my head now. It makes sense when I think about it, like where and then just their lyrics, like we were talking about earlier in the car, like how for people like us the references were.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I loved about it was at that point, that I found out about that, I had already been deeply like obsessed with like prog music, progressive music by then, and jazz and stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
And one of the elements, although I guess the Beastie Boys in some ways could be called really progressive, as far as where they went with different things, but. I don't think they considered themselves a prog band.
Right.
But one of the things that instantly hooked me about the Beastie Boys was that, like so many prog records, the songs all told stories.
Right. Yeah.
And so after the song, it wasn't so much like that part in the song. It was more like this character that you now... Almost like you would talk to your friends about it and talk about the characters in the song, even though it was really just the Beastie Boys.
Right.
It was the character that MCA played.
Yeah.
In the song, that was what you were talking about. I don't know. So I always thought that part of it was, you kind of went to school. You saw what their day in high school was like, and what it was like to ride the train with them. And I don't know. Yeah, it was awesome. And
what
it was
they were
like,
watching on TV. And
and interestingly enough, unlike prog music or anything else I ever listened to, it was totally legitimately just about what I was doing with my friends. It was. It wasn't about being rock stars or being famous or having a better car or any. It wasn't about anything. They were just me.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So, in 1986 was also around when you were getting into Rush. I
had already been into Rush since
a few years.
1, 2. So.
So in rock music, so. You probably, I think you're saying you heard "Fight for Your Right to Party."
Absolutely,
So this record then comes out, and you get this record. Do you recognize that the Led Zeppelin drum beat?
Absolutely.
Right
off the, of course. So well, that was and that was another thing. Immediately was any hip hop or at the time, like you said, just we called it rap that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively used. Like the grooves and stuff were more from like R&B and soul music, disco sometimes,
or just
funk, right?
Yeah.
Was Parliament and all that.
Mm-hmm.
This was a different thing to me because these guys were almost more like a punk band to me, even though I didn't know they used to be a punk band.
Right.
Because they were making that music, but they were using fucking metal samples and having Kerry King play the solo on it. So it was tied partially in that way too. I had already, by that point, I was into Slayer.
Yeah.
So that was a tied in
it all ties
thing.
in, right? It's pretty,
Yeah, which is interesting. And I remember immediately at the time that all the metalhead dudes I hung out with immediately adopted it. There wasn't any of the stigma thing with people think like a lot of metalheads are closed-minded. Immediately everybody was like, "Oh, this record's awesome."
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
And it's funny when you think back to, people credit Anthrax and Public Enemy with being the first, crossover.
Oh, right,
thing.
True, yeah.
But they also did a thing with UTFO, actually, a
really
12-inch called Lethal.
I didn't
a
know
song
that.
Anthrax, and it's not very good. It's like a rap song, and then
and to be sure, at least for my money, the Anthrax Public Enemy thing is awesome.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
love
it's
it.
so good.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Anthrax was the first metal band. I think metalheads fans were already realized. I think the same thing too. I believe with like punk music, everyone I know that came up as a metalhead or a punk rocker also immediately started to latch onto rap as soon as they heard about it.
Of course.
And to me, rap is basically like that's what it was a form of punk.
Yeah.
But for sure, I think Anthrax was got to be the first band that publicly made an effort to be like, let's mix these things together.
Yeah.
But I think the Beastie Boys and
they had
even
Kerry
Run
King.
DMC and stuff had done it before. Yeah. And that was what appealed to me too, was the idea of being a person that was never allegiance to a scene.
Yeah.
These guys obviously had no allegiance to anything. They were rappers, but they were also fucking metalheads. But they were also had a reggae licks. I was like, oh, this is for me.
Right.
It's got, I mean, they put it this way: there's not too many times you pick up a record that's like that punk rock and start finding jazz references on it.
Right,
I was like, that was another thing that is as filthy as the first record is. And by the first record, I mean License to Ill.
Yeah.
As filthy and sometimes misogynistic and all those terrible things people bring up about it sometimes. It's amazing how, what's the word I'm trying to think? It's in its own way. Musically, it's very sophisticated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit going on there that I don't think anybody saw coming. I mean, even now, as far as they push the envelope, I bet you if we put this record on right now, there'll be moments in it we still can't believe. Yeah, they pushed that boundary from the beginning, and I loved it because my record collection has always been like that. I love everything. And so did they. And yeah.
Let's go through it a little. So Rhyming and Stealing is the first song that it's a slow. It's based on the drum beat from the battle.
When the Levee Breaks.
When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, and just like in that cut, it's monstrous. It's huge.
It's like you're not expecting that from if you heard Fight for Your Right, and this is the song you hear as like a 16-year-old kid that's already been listening to Led Zeppelin for 10 years or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was it's so big and it's so massive, and I think one of the things that really appeals to me about it too is that later there became the tough guy rap thing. What they like goatee metal rap, thing.
Yeah.
And the Beastie Boys never made even a rudimentary attempt through their vocals or their attitudes to be tough guys.
Right.
But they rapped all over the heaviest, scariest music ever, and they sometimes even sound like little kids. And it's really, that riff is so giant, that drum riff. And then these squeaky kids come on rapping about piracy, and it's it's magical. It's brilliant.
There's all these pirate metaphors, and then they're saying they're the illest b-boy.
Right. I am most ill. And and the fact that they also, one thing that always makes me laugh in that song is that they've decided that along with raping and plundering and sailing the seas, pirates also rhyme.
Right.
And they have routines. And rhyming and having a routine, they do that and they plunder.
Right.
Like, what? Amazing. Yeah. They inserted themselves right into that culture. Like, pirates would be down with this. Yeah.
So the next song, the new style, starts with
4 and 3 and 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one of the first ones too, where you hear, like we were talking about earlier too before, how good they are at finishing each other's sentences.
Oh yeah, it's you almost like can't believe it's real. Like there's no way. Did you edit? How do you edit that together? And they just do it. Magic. And that's a great.
Yeah. And then
example.
She's Crafty's right after that, which another.
I also think is a classic.
Yeah. And then Posse and Effect is one of my favorite. That's just it's just a beat.
It's one of my favorites for sure across the board.
Yeah.
I have the T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, awesome, a classic.
And then Slow Ride, that's the one that uses tequila.
Yep, right? That's amazing too.
Girls, that's a good song still.
Yeah, it's
got that silly.
It's a fun song.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's a
And then Fight for Your Right, which is, and that was one of those for years. I would keep it off Beastie Boys playlists, but then listening to it in the context of the album, it fits in.
You know what's crazy about it? It's one of those songs that, as big of a fan as I am, I'm a huge fan. It got to a point where I was over it. I never thought it was a terrible song.
Yeah.
I just didn't really need to hear it for a while. But nowadays, it's the jam again.
Yeah, now,
sick.
Exactly.
If it comes on somebody's satellite radio in the car, I absolutely am like 15. I'm like, yeah, do it. You know,
there's a lot of those songs for me, with Zeppelin. You know, they're one of my favorite bands, but Kashmir, I don't really need to hear that song again.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them as well. With the Beastie Boys, I don't know if I have any.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if we come across one, I'll mention it, but I don't know.
So looking at this, we have the CD in front of us right here, and the way it's put out, laid out here, I can't remember if it is like this where it ends
on the LP,
Fight for Right, or the tape. I had the tape.
I don't remember either, and I don't have an LP copy of it.
Because if it did, that's pretty cool. Because it's Fight for Your Right, and then it's followed by No Sleep Till Brooklyn, which again brings us back to like metal, and it's Kerry King on there.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn. I mean. And that was a thing. It was being again a metalhead at the time, deeply involved in that. Just to have this rap album come out by these three squinky kind of Jewish kids rapping over John Bonham beats, and to have the lyrics never ever false metal, and be like, I buy it 100%. These dudes are not false. This is not. This is totally metal. Yeah, awesome.
And they're saying that in 1986. Dude.
Yeah, and to me, that's a song that I think for a lot of people might be a played out one. No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah,
no, I think it's a stone cold classic. I could listen to it right now.
Yeah, this awesome. For a long time, I wouldn't listen to this record. I just, for whatever reason, because it was just so different than everything else.
Yeah,
I
remember one thing about this record that ended up being a big deal for me was towards the end, not so much. It became normal again. But there was a big period in there where it was exceptional to hear anything from it live.
Yeah.
And you'd be at some show where they were just going to play around it and try to pretend like we never made that. And then all of a sudden, Brass Monkey would come on or something. And you lose your fucking cool to have them do it live. So that... it's a classic record. I mean, what are you going to say about it? It's a moving pictures record for sure. It's perfect.
Paul Revere.
Yeah, I mean,
and that has some of the that's like
who doesn't love that?
Telling a story.
Oh, a huge story, and again, you know, these kids are gangsters. They're shooting up this town for some reason. All of a sudden, it's gun smoke. Right. Like it's a western now. And again, you know, I love that. Most of the rap I would hear from anybody else, Run DMC, whatever other stuff people were turning me on to back then. Like, I had some friends that were into, even back then, that were into Biz Markie, that early stuff with DJ Swan and all that, which is awesome too, by the way. The Beastie Boys were the first. All of those records were always about living in blank, whatever city, New York or Los Angeles, or I'm from Queens or Glendale, whatever. The Beastie Boys did, of course, they had the songs that were specifically New York. But they were also in the Old West and Under the Sea and in outer space. I was like, they had no limit on. Oh, these got to be songs about the street, or they've got to be songs about this. You know, Mike D be like, yo, what if we make a song about pork chops? And they're like, well, let's see what happens, you know? And so I always loved that, too,
And then when you think of this record, too, though, this is definitely a New York record where...
that's what I mean, is yet somehow... And you know what, as a kid, this sounds probably a little maybe like melodramatic or cheesy or something, but as a kid, being into music and art and stuff... You think that that's what New York is. New York is everything. It's everything is in New York, and it's cool that it is. It's not like some other places where, I don't know, like things, the lines between cultures or whatever are in New York, or in your brain as a kid, they're so blurred that there is probably a corral and a Western happening over there, and over here is... So it's somehow strangely completely New York at the same time as it's all those other things. Yeah,
and that's definitely shown in the next song, "Hold It Now, Hit It," especially the video of them like skating and in the alley.
The police whistle.
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
and that's just like a classic, perfect hip hop song. Like that's
absolutely, totally. If you I think you could use that song as an illustration to somebody who wants to know what hip hop is.
Yeah,
you can play that song, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think the Beastie Boys have a number of those.
Yeah. Definitely.
And definitely they blurred the lines. It's not straight hip hop all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a few of those. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Root Down is another one. That is what hip hop is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right there. Yep. And then
Brass Monkey, which it's kind of like Girls almost, but I mean it's
and you know what's crazy is I always liked it. I was never huge on it until they put out Fucking Awesome. I Shot That shit.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the live video of it there is so engaging.
Yeah.
That in later years now it's become such a stone cold classic to me. I can't get over how amazing it is.
Yeah.
I mean, every Beastie Boys song has at least multiple times where all three of them will make me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And that song, there's a bunch of them in there. I mean, I got a castle in Brooklyn. That's where I dwell. I mean, that's love it.
Slow and Low. That's
and now that's the Run DMC song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's
and this is kind of embarrassing. I just found that out like a year ago that was a
really
or a year or two ago.
What's the movie? The Run DMC movie? The Beastie Boys are Tougher Than Leather.
Tougher Than Leather. Yeah.
Yeah. I think do they mention it in there?
Maybe. Not sure.
I don't remember when I found out, but I certainly didn't know at this time. It was much later.
Yeah.
But and I've since heard Run DMC do it also, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to say about it is the fucking Run DMC song.
Yeah.
How bad could it be?
Yeah.
Of course, it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing because those guys are equally to me as amazing as the Beastie Boys. You know, they're ludicrous how amazing they were.
And then we end with "Time to Get Ill,"
which is again, I believe I said it earlier today at some point. Oh, you're wearing the Adidas Campus sneakers, and my wife said, those are sick. And I said, oh, look, and they're yellow and green. It's time to get ill.
Yep.
So earlier today, before we even knew we were doing a Beastie Boys thing, I was making Beastie Boys references.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny. So now, a few years later, Paul's Boutique comes out.
Right.
And we had like 3 years to soak this record in, which is kind of funny. And there's been a lot of talk about this record, and obviously
absolutely
now considered their best record, which is
I mean, I would say that it's their considered like the masterpiece. The one, which I won't say is not. Man, I would not say that it isn't true,
right?
But I would say that there are times where the other records are that record for me are the better. Not, I won't say better. That's a loaded word, but
is that right?
Yeah. But you know what I mean. I do love the record.
Yeah,
I love it all the way through from beginning to end. It's actually kind of just like one long song to me.
Yeah.
If any song from this is played out of context, as soon as it's over, I immediately start the next song in my head. Yeah. So what did you? So when you first heard this record, what did you? I was so blown away by the fact that it wasn't anything like the first one in any regard. That, of course, it is. But at the time, I almost couldn't. You know what? It sounded like a record from the future to me. Like a record that even though I was listening to it, it hadn't happened yet or something. Very weird, and it still kind of feels weird to me. There's something weird about it. Which
nothing had sounded like this
at
record.
all, not even close. I couldn't even. The idea of using the samples in that fashion, like not to drop a sample in something, but the idea that the entire song is made out of samples,
right?
Was mind-boggling to me, mind-blowing. Kind of in the same way, like I feel like when I first heard something like Kraftwerk, where make a whole fucking record with computers. Like
Right.
that's how I felt about this. Like made a whole record of that. To this day, on occasion, in the right setting, in the right whatever, I will hear shit on it that I did not know was on there.
Yeah.
Crazy. The record's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way this record starts is sort of this faded
All the
in,
girls,
sort of stony
ladies.
like thing.
Yep.
And you almost wonder if it's like a nod. I always thought it was sort of like a nod to where they were coming from before, the old Beastie Boys.
Okay, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just punches you in the face with Shake Your Rump with that drum roll that comes in.
Yeah. This one is where the finishing each other's sentences in the middle of with absolutely no regard for anything that would make sense in terms of, even if you tried to plan it, okay, you should take over here.
Right.
No, he's going to take over there.
Yeah.
It is so mind-boggling that it's still impossible to rectify it sometimes.
Yeah.
Except to say that having seen them do it live, you're like, they can do that, but
while jumping around and running around,
doing flipping, whatever.
And not being able to, like, monitors and think about that, like doing that live with
that live one from.
Do
you ever see that live? That whole show from Scotland with the round stage,
in the
middle of the arena.
Yeah.
And it's literally, I was watching it one night, going, they don't stop at all. Like that's
dizzy.
basically CrossFit for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And running around this giant stage so everybody gets to see what's and playing an instrumental set.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a band, right? See, we're on record 2, and I'm already gonna light my head on fire.
Johnny Ryall.
Oh, he's the bum on my stoop.
Yeah.
That one is top 3 rhyme for this record.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot. There's a lot of sick stuff on this record, and that again with the character and the story, and you felt like.
You knew this.
It never occurred to me that this was fake. Like in my mind, listening to this, these dudes absolutely know this dude.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I don't even know if that's true to this day. He might be fictitious, but awesome.
And then Eggman.
Again.
And that one uses, what does that use for Curtis Mayfield?
Is that the Eagles?
No, that's High Plains Drifter.
Oh, that is High Plains Drifter.
This one uses the Curtis Mayfield. I'm your pusher.
Oh, yeah, yep. Again, with the that one's got some nutty parts at the end where they're basically literally each doing a word out of a sentence in rapid succession, and
this is they're living in L.A. at this point where they recorded this, but this definitely has like a New York. I mean, this is a New York record. It's almost like
the next one is the first one that feels like California.
Yeah.
This one still feels very well.
And this is going to sound pretentious, but. Steely Dan went to L.A. and made Asia, which is like a New York record to me.
Absolutely,
and,
agreed. Yep.
So same with these guys. Did that.
Yep.
But the Eggman it
goes to show you.
Back to their old.
It goes to show you too how strong it is. I guess I'm not one myself. I'm not trying to claim, but to be a New Yorker, because if there's a city that could knock your old city out of you, it would probably be something as crazy as Los Angeles. And these guys went into the heart of that city and said, no, now it's New York, for at least for this long. Awesome. Eggman is a total classic that can't be fronted on at all.
And then High Plains Drifter, that might be one of my top 3 songs.
Easily one of my top 3, very easily could be the number 1 song for me. It's a masterpiece to me.
And that's the one that uses Those Shoes by the Eagles. The drum beat.
To better effect than the Eagles, I might add. But that's another story for another time. Probably, definitely a top 3, maybe the one all day long. No problem.
Definitely.
I don't know that I ever in my life have made a Beastie Boys comp that doesn't have it on it.
Yeah.
I couldn't say that. That would be the case.
The Sounds of Science, that one sort of harkens back to like the Hold It Now, Hit It, the new style.
It's kind of the one of the few spots on this record where they're smarmy enough that it reminds me of the first record. Like, oh, it is those guys.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's a great one for sure.
3-Minute Rule, that's the...
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The Sounds of Science, too, I wanted to point out, it might be the first notion of it, I'm not sure, but I mean, science being a thing as far as a terminology in hip hop,
Yeah.
but also the Beastie Boys' peculiar fascination with not just the idea of science as the dropping of the rhyme, but like of science, of test tubes and bubbling things and beakers and lab coats, whatever.
Yeah.
So that is
definitely.
another thing too.
Yeah. And then Hey Ladies,
Awesome.
which uses a bunch of stuff. I think it uses that more.
Oh man, that's got. See, that's the thing about this record is even at this point, counting and calibrating. There is a guy somewhere I've seen the thing that has put together the list of
all
every
the
single
samples,
sample, and it's maddening.
Yeah.
But that one was one of the first ones where, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I think I may have the first time I ever heard it was in the video.
Yeah.
Was that like a video that came out like right at the beginning? Was that a single?
Yeah. That was the.
Okay, so that may have been my first
single.
taste of the record.
Yeah,
was
it
seeing
might
the
have been.
single and going, "Oh my God, this record's coming out next week or whatever," you know?
Yeah, it was like a takeoff on Saturday Night Fever, I think.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
awesome, great song.
And then 5-piece chicken dinner, which is just that. That's that.
Get the hell away from that thing!
Yeah.
Yep, that's amazing. Again, maybe the first. Oh no, from the first record, right, with Paul Revere and all that,
Yeah.
we're touching on the Western.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
And then we go into Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun.
one of my
which is
favorites too. That's a top
Yeah.
3 for me for sure.
And that harkens back to the sort of metal and punk
Yep.
influence.
And that the way that's looped.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was a cool video. I think that's the video that all the just skate footage of skaters,
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
Car Thief.
Awesome.
That's actually one of my favorites. As
Yeah,
well. I
again.
kind of like those laid back. Like,
Yeah,
sounds
see,
like
now
this
we're
is-
getting at the point where I want to say that's a top 3, but then
Yeah.
I'm at 3, and I'm like, no, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
So, but boy, that's an amazing one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Comes Around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's again back a little taste of the first record.
Yeah, it's a
maybe.
little silly almost.
Yep.
And then Shadrach comes after that,
Awesome.
which is just
Just again, could be the one.
for this record.
Yeah, it could be. It's the idea of the Beastie Boys casting themselves as the 3 biblical wise guys. They weren't technically the wise men, right? They were the
right.
but there was the guys that they tell the Pharaoh that you can put us in the furnace and the power of God won't allow us to burn.
Yeah.
And for them to cast themselves as those guys was amazing.
Yeah.
In the song, yeah. So, and man, lyrically, what a sick rhyme.
Yeah,
What a great
Yeah,
rhyme.
riddle me this.
Equinox, symmetry, and the balance is right. Smoking and drinking on. You're like, did you just use equinox and symmetry in a hip hop rhyme? Yeah, awesome, classic record.
And then there's the Ask for Janus little.
Oh my
interlude
God,
thing.
which later reappears when one of the answering machine messages they got when they put that on there appears later on that record with that guy's bullshit because he thinks Paul won't let him talk to the Beastie Boys.
Yeah. And then there's the Sweet at the end, the B-boy
which is one of the. I mean, this record is terrific if you put it on like shuffle.
Yeah.
And those
definitely.
things just pop up.
Yeah. Yep.
B-boy Bouillabaisse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to argue that it's pretty damn close to perfect record.
Yeah. There's nothing.
Everything about it, from the packaging, the artwork,
there wasn't much info on it. Like,
I loved how the lyric sheet inside the record in the vinyl is all typed without any.
There's no spaces or.
There's no spaces or punctuation or anything, which means that you kind of have no choice. If you want to find out what that one weird lyric is, you better start at the beginning and follow it till you get to it, because you can't find it.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe contributed to why that record is one of those records to me that's. If it goes on, the whole record's going on.
Yeah, it's one long. It is like one long piece, and then they end it with one long.
It's like a prog record in that way.
Yeah.
It's one giant story kind of, but the story isn't one story, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Just a masterpiece for sure.
Yeah. And you said you hadn't seen them up to this point, and obviously
I had never seen them
they
at all.
didn't tour around Paul's Boutique like they played a few
No,
shows
yeah.
after it came out,
and when they first were around with what it was Madonna,
Yeah,
and all that.
right.
Yeah, no, I never got to see any of that. But
I had seen them. They played the Worcester Centrum. And that
yes,
was with.
right.
So and that was another thing where because they had Public Enemy with them. And then they had
that
Murphy's
must have
Law.
been awesome. Oh my God, Murphy's Law too. That must have been so good.
So to see like a hardcore band, I
Which
had been
totally
sort of
makes
following.
sense.
Yeah, seeing this hardcore band that I had seen, and
At
some
the
of those,
Worcester Central,
yeah,
that must have
I
been
know.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some of the guys from Murphy's Law were in the Fight for Your Right party.
In the video, yeah.
So you knew they were kind of hanging with those people.
Yeah,
that
and by
came
this
from that
time,
world.
I had become such a fan at this point that I definitely was aware of the.
Yeah,
They used to be a hardcore band, and I had all those records
Yeah.
and everything by that point. So,
Yeah. So
I never got to see them back at that,
yeah,
which honestly I regret, not being able to do that. But it's, one of those things where I think at the time it was like all of my ticket money was definitely being spent on like Rush.
yeah,
shows,
definitely.
Yeah.
And then so now, they hadn't toured. So I never really thought of them as like a live band at that point. Because I had seen them
Right,
earlier.
yeah.
In hip hop live, it began as a live form of
Of course,
art,
yeah, and I'm sure that I thought it was weird that they went on tour with Madonna.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that making
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah,
But I kind of, I remember wondering, I wonder what it's like live.
Yeah.
They play instruments,
Right,
do they?
right.
Do they?
Yeah.
So that must have been awesome to see them with those bands in a room like that.
yeah.
Must have been weird.
Yeah. So 3 years passes. And now it's 1992.
Yeah.
And where are you at musically in '92? You think listening to? Because it's funny, the Beastie Boys are a band that's just out there. They put out that one record in '86,
Yeah.
89.
They're one of those bands that have, no matter what I was, I've been such a big fan over the years that no matter what else I was doing, when their
Yeah.
record comes out, I'm into that
Yeah.
too. So they've been there through all kinds of stuff. In the early '90s, I would say, definitely on a metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Metal and hardcore, I guess, probably. Yeah. And of course, like always, I'm sure I was listening to all kinds of stuff, whatever was crossing my path. As far as I was always into whatever jazz and classic. I didn't really, still have an allegiance at that point. I had never been part of a scene.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything about that. I just liked music.
Yeah.
But '92, I'm going to want to say, I was getting into going into Boston to see shows.
Yeah.
Was really accessible, so I was starting to see hardcore bands and
There was so many different genres and shit, like shows all in the '90s.
In the '90s, we were at a show literally.
We were spoiled
Every weekend, sometimes many weekends.
Yeah.
One Sunday, one Saturday. Sometimes a matinee on a Saturday, and then go see a big show at night.
Yeah.
So lots of shows. That's where I was doing lots of that, and trying to think of something specific that I was probably into at that time, and it's hard to pinpoint it to '92. But I want to say. I know for a fact when this record dropped, whatever else I was doing was put on hold, and this became an obsession where it never left the tape player, whatever. Yeah, I remember in fact getting the Pass the Mic single CD first. It came out, I don't know, a month before the record or whatever. Like as the single, and I was obsessed with that, and that just stayed in the car.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, the record came out in April of '92. So the record we're talking about now is the third record. Check Your Head.
Check Your Head, which...
And this is a summer record for me, and I think it makes sense. I just was looking to see, because I remember, I was like, I'm pretty sure this came out in the summer, so it makes sense that
definitely. I associate it with a lot of... I'll tell you, something else I was doing a lot of at the time was skateboarding.
Yeah.
So I associate it with that a lot.
Yeah.
This was on many times on a boombox at the curb, where we were skating, and for sure.
Yeah, and this one, again, like, gives the nod to like hard rock and
yeah,
people by starting with a sample from Cheap Trick at Budokan,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
By that time, of course, I was already a Cheap Trick fan.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing opener. Yeah.
And then the beat, and that is from this old. The song is Jimmy James.
Yeah.
It's an old Jimi Hendrix song from when he was called Jimmy James, which I don't think I ever actually heard any of that stuff before
me
this.
definitely
I don't even think subsequently I've gone back and listened.
I've never heard it.
I've
heard this, of course, but
yeah.
I've never heard the Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, maybe I did hear it at one point, and I just don't.
Yep, I initially thought that the song was about Jimmy Smith.
Yeah.
Because they have a thing with him too, But what an opener, having Robin Zander on the beginning of it, and awesome.
So then the next song is Funky
Boss, amazing.
And this one's one of these where you're listening to it and you're like, is this a sample or is this actually them playing it? As it turns out, it is.
This that I don't know what it is. I don't even know if it's a sample. I don't know if it's one of them, but it's just fucking. Oh yeah, just.
So I think in this era there were probably like you said, this is the first sort of West Coast sounding record.
This is the first one where I can hear the California in it. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt that the videos were all shot in those neighborhoods out there and stuff. Yeah, and what is it? The Pass the Mic video with all the skateboarding in it is a very California thing, and playing dominoes in the rain and all that. So, I agree. It's a summer record, and it's fittingly, I guess, a California record too. So So I remember. Do you remember at the time? I kind of remember at the time. People being bummed out about it, not sounding like New York City enough or something, like they sold out or whatever.
Right.
And, that never was an issue for me. I was never bothered by that in any way. I thought it was fucking great.
Yeah, not at all.
I kind of said, "Wow, I want them to go other places and make a record that sounds like that place too."
Yeah, In the '90s too, I was getting into through. I don't even know what, just through whatever I was listening to, and then going back and finding their influences. But I had started getting into funk and some of this stuff like Jimmy McGriff, the organ.
Okay, sure.
Stuff.
And I think that the Beastie Boys have a funk thing in across the board from the instrumental stuff to the and for sure they put me onto most of the funk stuff that I ever got any real knowledge of came from finding out from them about it probably.
So then the next song is Gratitude, which begins with that amazing overdriven bass line.
Yeah, awesome.
And now, so when you get to this point on the record, you're like, are they playing this music? Like, because this doesn't sound like anything sampled. It sounds like a live band, and that's essentially what a lot of these songs are.
Yeah, and that, of course, is... I don't think their intent was to do it... how do I put it? That used to be... I mean, maybe it still is, probably. It used to be one of the main gripes you would hear people... I don't like rap music because it's not real music. They don't play instruments. Yeah. And it was almost like the middle finger to that. Yeah. But I don't think that's what they did on purpose. Yeah, definitely. I think they just were a punk band and they decided we should play some of these songs. Yeah. But I would argue that they do that, make a rap record around real instruments better than anybody else ever in the history of anything. Yeah, amazing. And that video, that's the Pompeii video, isn't it? Which is just fucking insane. Yeah,
so if the listener, if you've never seen the video for this, and if you're also familiar with Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii, look for this video because it's an homage for that video.
To that, right? And
it's just an amazing song. This is sort of the first sort of like message song where
and it's also, I would say it's the first Beastie Boys song that isn't a rap song. That's a traditionally styled, if you want to call it, rock song. That isn't a punk song. Definitely. It's just a song. And another interesting thing about it was when I first heard it, I was blown away. I couldn't believe what a great song it was. And immediately all the hallmarks of what I was nerding out about with like prog bands and stuff started to pop up. Like, it wasn't just that he played the bass,
right,
in the real bass on the song, the tone.
Oh yeah, it's nasty.
Were you here, or I don't remember when it was. Guy and I have had this conversation before about the difference between a person who's a, like for instance, a person who's a guitarist versus a person who plays the guitar,
right,
being two different things. Mm-hmm. And the idea being that, well, the person who plays guitar doesn't necessarily know how to tune a guitar.
Right.
He could play it though.
Right.
But he probably has a tech that does
right.
it. Right.
Yeah.
And immediately, as a music nerd, I was like, oh, these guys can all tune instruments. These guys are musicians. They're not guys that, hey, dude, why don't you just hit this drum for this track? Like, Mike D's a drummer.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw him in Modern Drummer and being just blown away by like Mike D's a drummer. That rules.
Yeah, kind of proud for him that he's been recognized.
And kind of also for the fact that, like I said, it wasn't just the kid in the rap band can play the drums. The kid in the rap band can play a old ass beat up set of drums from the 70s that are tuned out so well that they would blow you out of the room. They sound amazing. It was so good, and Yauk's bass thing is so slinky, and they weren't just it wasn't a gimmick, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't a gimmick that they could play instruments. They could play.
And now the next song is Lighten Up, which is now sort of the first one of these sort of like
mantra-y. It's really
it's got the
it's like a repetitive,
some organ-y,
and I don't know what, kind of very spiritual kind of thing.
And that's just, is there lyrics in that besides Lighten Up? Lighten
Shine
up.
like the sun. Not a lot, but I think far be it from me to try to tell you what the Beastie Boys were up to at the time, but I get the distinct impression there may have been marijuana cigarettes involved in some of these tracks.
So now the next song, Finger Licking Good, sort of harkens back to sort of that classic, like a Hold It Now, Hit It, She's Crafty, the new style.
Boy, what a great song. The rhyme is sick. It's so fast.
That's what they're best at, is that fast. There's fast rappers that after that, obviously, but the Beastie Boys mastered that.
Oh, it's the part I'm thinking of is the
without talking over each other, and it's pretty amazing, and I think it's overlooked with them.
Yeah, I mean, that one to this day is mind-bogglingly fast. It's crazy how fast it is. Like trying to keep up with Mike D when he's growing onions and he's got big buds on you, man, Paul Bunyan and all that. Yeah. There's actually a part in it that I've never been able to do. I could probably speak it, but it's just so fast. I'm trying to remember what part it is, and I don't want to take too long on it. It's one of MCA's parts. And I can't think of it. If it comes to me at some point, I'll bring it back up. But there's a part in it that I've rewound the CD and stuff hundreds of times over the years trying to do it, and I can't. It's just crazy. A great song, a classic, top 3 song maybe for the record.
So What You Want?
Classic. Probably a little overplayed for a lot of people. Maybe even for me sometimes, but not a hater at all. I think it's an amazing song.
That has a cool video. The video. In the woods.
Where they're just wandering around in the woods with dressed like lumberjacks and whatnot.
The Biz versus the Nude, which is basically just the Biz Markie rapping over the Ted Nugent's song, which is
but again, the Biz kills it. It's awesome. And I also love that it returned on various occasions, at least in the form of they got a lot of mileage out of the sample of Biz saying the Beastie Boys. I mean, it opened many shows. Right.
Oh,
of course. Classic. Good shit.
Time for Living.
Oh, again with the we're back to punk now. And
although that's probably the first punk song on like a post,
and it doesn't sound anything like Sonic Reducer.
Right. No.
Which actually they sampled, right?
I
Isn't
think
this
so.
Sonic Reducer sample on
on the Paul's Boutique
Yeah,
record.
yeah. So, fittingly enough, and I'm okay with that. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's not a complaint.
Yeah. Some things got to give.
Again, with the hippie,
Yeah.
they were piecing out. Man.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah, that was one of the sort of those.
This is the first one where they're really starting to break ways with who they used to be.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Even to them, this is where they stopped. I think really trying to acknowledge a lot of that stuff because they felt a little like knuckleheads or whatever.
Yep. The Blue Nun, which is the
Awesome. Yeah, about the wine.
Yeah.
Then you know what? I later found out, man, that's a record.
Yeah, my brother has that.
No way. I've never seen one.
Yeah,
but,
he found one at one point. Peter Seychelles.
Like Guide to Fine Living.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is I legitimately want to hear it.
Yeah.
Not just because of the connection here, but I'll have to say it's the wine.
Stand Together, which is another one of these.
Peace March songs. Yep.
Yep. Pow, which is an instrumental.
Yeah, which is also always look forward to those.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, on various instruments, I've always enjoyed playing with them.
Yeah.
Putting the instrumental up really loud in the room and playing along with it. Yeah. Fun.
The Maestro, that's pretty awesome.
Oh my God, the favorite.
And that's another one of these. It's a hip hop song. It's a rap song, but they're.
And that's the one that has the sample from the guy calling the Paul's Boutique phone number.
Yeah.
And it's also the one that Necro Butcher from Mayhem quoted to me when I met him.
Yeah.
It was awesome. He was signing somebody else's book.
Yeah.
And he was telling the guy a story about the guy had said, how come you guys didn't play such and such a festival?
Right.
And he's like, and then this guy says he's going to take all the money and we have to play him for free. So I says, fuck you, my man. And then for whatever reason, he looked up from the book right at me.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't care about you anyhow. And he went, this is the Beastie Boys. Introduction to song is called The Maestro. And then he went back to signing the black metal record. And I was like, fucking Necro Butcher is my spirit animal.
That's amazing.
He also later did an Amoeba Records, What's in My Bag?
Yeah.
Where half of it is him talking about the Beastie Boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's just a massive fan, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And that song, not just that intro, which is amazing, but the song itself is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Groove Holmes.
Yeah.
Which is another one of these instrumentals. It's obviously named after Richard Groove Holmes.
Yep. Again, the instrumentals, always appreciated those.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Live at PJ's. There's also a cool, I think there's a Cool in the Gang Live at PJ's record.
Oh, is there? Yeah. In fact, isn't there a sample of that
I think so.
in that? Yeah, okay.
Mark on the Bus. Which is,
man, I love it.
That sounds like
love it.
One of those like late night sort of.
Yeah, it reminds me of. It always reminds me of Nettie's Girl.
Yeah.
Where he's just gonna talk and ramble about Mark on. Get out the bus. Yeah, that's amazing. Always love that stuff. Yep.
And then one of the best songs on the record, I think, is the next one, Professor Booty.
I think it's Booty.
Yeah, which again goes back to the rhyming and stealing, the pirate stuff.
Again with the pirates and the it's got a classic sort of it feels like that early stuff too a little bit to me. So classic, great song.
In Threes, which is another one of those instrumentals.
Love it. Yep.
And then the last song,
Namaste, right? Yeah. This is like where Yauk started to exert his supernatural Hindu powers over everybody with it. Which is awesome. To see who arguably started out as the filthiest, scariest one. Right. Actually, let's be honest about it. He was the only one of them that was scary at the beginning. Yeah. You would want to fight Yauk, right? He'll break a bottle over your head. The other two would stand behind him going, "You get him, Yauk," right? And he turned into the epic peace dude. But,
that is funny. We did a what do you call it? Lip sync contest in high school. Right after right after the first record license to Ill, when I was in high school.
And you did it?
Yeah, and I was MCA.
Awesome.
We did Rhymin' and Stealin'. You're right. There's a video of it somewhere that someone I graduated with has, so I need to track that down. But yeah, because I had a leather jacket already. So
well, like I was saying in high school, when I got into the Beastie Boys, I had been into what was at the time considered underground metal. Like Slayer was an underground band. Yeah. Slayer, Exodus, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this kid in the rap band like has my clothes on.
Right.
He's got the ripped jeans and the white sneakers and the leather jacket, and I was like, that was probably one of the linchpins of becoming such a huge fan, was that immediately I identified with, oh, these guys are me.
Yeah, of course.
And which of course is not true at all in the end, but yeah. So what's up next is Ill Communication.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too. So after this record,
sorry.
They toured finally.
Yes.
And this tour, came through Boston. And
the Axis.
Avalon. With Fire Hose.
Yeah, which somehow I don't recall how it's even conceivable that I didn't see that, because I love Fire Hose.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a hardcore Beastie Boys fan.
Yeah.
But I remember there being the show and not going to it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was amazing. You were
it was right? That was probably one of the best shows of anyone I've seen, I think, ever.
Ever?
Because they were doing all this, mixing all this stuff together and actually playing these songs
and were they
live.
playing instruments?
Yeah, they're playing instruments.
Yeah, oh my God. What was the crowd response like at the time?
I think people were psyched because at that point, hardcore people, hip-hop people, and in the 90s, all that stuff kind of meshed. You could go to the festivals and stuff had,
I'm trying to remember like I said, I do remember some people being bummed out on, it sounds like California, and honestly, it sounds pretentious, but a lot of the knuckleheads that took Fight for Your Rights seriously and stuff were dropping off. It wasn't. It was too smart now.
Yeah, so that's why I think it was real fans.
Which I was amped about.
Yeah.
I was really watching them. Like I said to you earlier, it was maybe the only rap band I've ever considered like a prog thing almost in its own way, which I don't think they think of that, but they just progressed and changed constantly. And at that time, a lot of people were upset about it.
But I think they were psyched because they were now playing to their exact audience. It was definitely their
and they still
people.
Would you agree that no matter what they ever did, they were always a punk band?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
they always had that in there.
I watched the Intergalactic video and it's a punk band. So which is amazing. How do you, in one of the tightest controlled scenes of what is and isn't true and what is and isn't cool, to maintain your cred in that across decades of every genre of music is incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody with any real knowledge about punk rock would ever tell you that the Beastie Boys were sellouts. So they're as punk as it gets, no matter what they did, and that's maybe nobody else. I can't think of anybody else I could give that credit to.
Yeah, and that night too, they did a Fire Hose came out and they covered "Sophisticated Bitch," the Public Enemy song.
George Hurley.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I saw them. I don't know if it was the same tour or if it was from the next record, but they played at UNH with Rollins Band.
Awesome.
And the Lynch Mob, who was like a Ice Cube.
Remember the Lynch Mob? Yeah.
So so they were now a great live band, and they awesome, when you listen to this record, the one we were just talking about, Check Your Head, it sounds like I feel like I'm in the studio with them.
Oh yeah, that record is so live.
Yeah, it's very live.
It's the classic thing you hear about a lot of metal and punk records, and people go, it sounds like they just played together in the room.
Yeah.
That's what the whole record sounds like. They just did this.
Yeah.
Which was revealed on the, in the vinyl. Well, it's probably in there too, but in the gatefold with that picture of the studio.
Yeah, you can picture
the drums and the 3 plywood booths with the mics where they sing, and you're like, It reminded me of what's that Neil Young record that's the album cover is them in the barn. Ragged Glory.
Ragged Glory.
Where they're just in this fucking plywood studio. It's awesome. Yeah. Very much that vibe, which was awesome. That's another thing to point out too, I think, is the Beastie Boys, to me, no matter what they did, whether it was hip hop or whatever, it's a band.
Yeah, definitely.
In the way that, kind of Run DMC is too, even though they don't play instruments, they're a band, in a way.
Yeah.
But.
And And then sequencing records, you know, they were just the master of that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, with every record, any song randomly gets played.
Yeah.
I can immediately go to what the next song is.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Yeah.
They all play out like that. The records all play out.
Yeah.
As a one big whole.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the next record is Ill Communication, which I, you know, arguably could be almost a little better than Check Your Head, and
I
it has
agree.
this, and again, so this has sort of the same feel as Check Your Head, or same kind of songs.
Yeah.
But it feels like a New York. It almost feels like it's back to being a New York.
Agreed.
Record.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like they went back to New York and they took all the shit they liked about California with them, but it was still New York again.
Yeah.
It was also the first time I really was cognizant of the idea of the Beastie Boys as rappers, in the sense that they would hang around necessarily with other rappers.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it totally made sense to me. I knew how tight they were with Run DMC and all
Right,
that.
yeah.
But the fact that modern rappers would be hanging around with them was a weird thing, because I just thought of the Beastie Boys never as a rap. They're just this weird one-off. Band.
Right.
You know, so some of the appearances that started to happen on the records and stuff kind of made them more solidly part of that hip-hop camp.
Yeah, definitely.
While they yet still, again, you know, hip-hop too. Every genre they touched, they have the respect of the people of that genre.
Yeah.
There's no genre people go, the Beastie Boys aren't
Right.
hip-hop. Oh, they're not punk. They're not this. You know, I guarantee there's a Latin percussion guy out there that's like, oh, yeah, I'm down. Those guys are total,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, of course, yeah. So that's amazing to me, is how pure that is.
Yeah.
That they really are just very musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. This record, I think, maybe better than the previous record, shows that. Such a seamless, the way that the samples are seamless on Paul's Boutique, the genre bending on it is so seamless that you no longer even kind of know that it's happening. It just sounds like the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, it sounds like one. Yeah, you expect it
crazy.
to be. Yeah. It's nothing would sound out of place. Like the
Yeah, there's no song we go, oh, that's the Bossa Nova one.
Yeah.
Every song is just...
Yeah, like Heart Attack Man. Why would that... Shouldn't be on there necessarily, but it fits perfectly.
There's
on
a
there.
punk rock song on here which fits perfectly, and some of these let's start at the beginning, right? Sure Shot, which is insane.
Yeah.
Awesome. A classic.
Yeah. That's like a perfect Beastie Boys song.
Absolutely. It's kind of like a pass the mic vibe to it, where they're going to call each other out by name.
Yeah.
Talk about how sick they are, and and much to my eternal amusement, the Beastie Boys' definition of what makes one a sick ass motherfucker is always very entertaining to me. Like, where some other rapper might be like, I've got 3 Glock pistols and 14 Benzes. You know, Mike D's like, I put jelly on my toast.
Right. Or
like,
she's
that's
the cheese and I'm the macaroni.
like, or you know, like, I got. He doesn't have mad firepower like the U.S. military, but he's got mad beats like, you know, whoever, some celebrity from the past that nobody knows about anymore. Like, you're like, oh, damn, until Mike D dropped that rhyme, I didn't even know that would be considered sick.
Right.
But, you know, again, they're very much in their own world about, it's not about cars and drugs and money and gangs, or it's not about any of the other things that I would associate with a lot of other hip-hop music that was in terms of what that particular, you know, all the gold chains maybe as a status symbol.
Right.
The Beastie Boys were like, check, you know what would be sick? A Volkswagen hubcap.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and the fact that it's kind of like what Ace Frehley said earlier, if you really believe it, if it's not a gimmick, you can get away with it.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like, if somebody stepped up and said, bitch, I have a $7 million necklace on. Is that a Volkswagen hood ornament? Mike D would convince that dude why that was so sick. That dude wants to go get one.
Right.
Yeah. I always loved that aspect of them, that they had their own world of what was cool, and what was cool or not cool outside of that didn't mean anything.
Right.
Which is
they're celebrating them. It's
so bold and kind of like a Rush thing.
Yeah.
This is what we do. If you don't like it, it's okay.
Right.
But we think this is badass.
Yeah.
I remember Bron Daler from Mastodon saying when they said, well, you guys made a concept album about Moby Dick. Is that because you're intellectuals?
Right.
And he said, no, it's because we're nerds and we think that's badass.
Right. Yeah.
It's that. It's like, this is what's cool to us. And I adopted a lot of that,
Oh, yeah.
Became like a White Castle gourmand, of course. Yeah.
And then this record, goes right from that to a hardcore song, Tough Guy, which is about like a tough guy on the basketball court.
Yeah. Always love the hardcore songs. There's this record is rife with some of the best ones. I think. And again, seamless from one genre to another.
It doesn't like this song.
It's not jarring
perfectly.
at all. If anybody else, like if Van Halen ever put out a record where it was a rock song, then a doo-wop song, then a classical cut, then a country song, people would be like, fuck this record.
Right.
These guys literally do whatever they want with impunity.
And it works.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Yep. And then the next song is B-Boys, Making with the Freak Freak.
Awesome.
Which has that great stand-up bass line in it. I don't know if that's a sample or if that's MCA. Because there's a picture of the picture inside the booklet here
is with I don't know that
playing one. So.
Again, the Beastie Boys are. That's an interesting thing because they can play instruments. But they use samples too. And they never make a big deal out of we played this or we didn't play. It's always just this was our record.
Yeah. I think the last record is all instruments, but it sounds like samples. I think.
Right. I don't know. The next one is Bobo on the Corner.
Oh yeah.
And now Root Down.
Root Down.
An epic masterpiece of genius. Right?
Definitely. Get It Together. Which is
that's a good one. I mean, it's getting to be a little bit. They got to the point where they were kind of. I agreed 100% with all their peaceful ideas.
Right.
But I didn't really need them to tell me about it anymore.
Right.
Like I get it. But. I get they're trying to spread their message, so whatever.
And that had Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, isn't it?
Which, arguably, Guy would tell you is like an apex moment.
Yeah.
Which it really kind of is, too. Is that with, the phone is ringing. Oh my God. Get it together. Yeah. That was, I never saw that coming. Did you?
Yeah.
Q-Tip?
Nope.
I never occurred to me that those guys would be down with those guys.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, it's brilliant.
It fits perfectly on there. And then Sab Rosa, which I think is one of the instrumentals, right?
Yep.
So this this would be a great picture of us trying to read the back of this fucking CD.
Fucked.
So the back of the Check Your Head record, the font is huge.
Yeah.
But this one, it's tiny.
It's tiny.
So.
We skipped Sabotage.
Oh yeah, Sabotage.
Which is crazy.
Oh,
that
right.
was a massive hit.
Is that what I said, Sabrosa? Maybe?
Yeah. You said Sabrosa, which is 2 songs. Next song.
I literally got a text message earlier today that I'm gonna read it to you.
This said Sabrosa?
No, I'll read this to you. This will make sense to what's going on right here. Christian, you are overdue for your eye exam. Please call us to set up an appointment at VisionWorks.
Yeah, you better do that because I'm wearing glasses right now and I can't read this shit. Then Sabrosa.
Yeah.
And then the update.
Oh, the update.
Which is terrific.
Yeah.
And then following that is one of my favorites is Futterman's Rule.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a weird one. I always like those weird ones that aren't necessarily... there's a bunch of them at the end of Paul's Boutique.
Yeah.
All those.
Yeah. Like Nettie's.
The post still sees the ghost. Yeah. Nettie's Girl. My friend Ian Robinson and I.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier, we used to drive around both New York City and Boston.
Yeah.
Literally as a thing to do. Like, it wasn't we were bored and we had nothing else to do.
Right.
It wasn't. It was a case of, hey, what do you want to do today? Why don't you pick me up? We'll drive around in the van. I used to have this Dodge Caravan that was like pimped out. It was Mac. It was like a Bose audio system, with leather and air conditioning and everything.
Right.
I would pick him up. We would get huge iced coffees.
Yeah.
And we would literally drive around all day for 8 hours, stopping for food and stuff, and just listen to Beastie Boys records and dissect them.
Yeah.
Endlessly over and over and over again.
Nice.
And he bar none, is the master of like every detail of every little thing everywhere.
Yeah.
And Nettie's Girl was one that it's hard to believe how much we dissected it, especially when you realize how ignorant the song is. There's nothing there.
Yeah, it's kind of.
But they have that effect on me, and this album is one that's so loaded with lyrical shit to figure out what it's about.
Yeah.
You were talking about it earlier too, about trying to decipher, like, what are they talking about? What does that even mean?
Yeah. So you'd go and discover that stuff.
You'd go and find out, and I mean,
what was the one you were talking about earlier that Ian mentioned about?
The Wonderama Snake Can winner.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's that song from?
I'm a Wonderama Snake Can winner with a bagel from Bob's and a TV dinner. I'm the one that won that dance contest because you know I dance the best. What song is that? It's on the Five Boroughs. It's Mike D. rhyme.
Right.
And I'm like, it was hysterical. This is one of our van trips. We're driving around drinking coffee. That rhyme comes on, and I go, what the fuck is a Wonderama Snake Can winner? And like it's nothing because he grew up in New York City.
Yeah. He
goes, oh, it's a public television thing in New York. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, when I was a little kid in the 70s, there was a show called Wonderama, and at some point during the show, the kids would have to open this can, like a tennis ball can, and the kid that opened the can that had that pop-out snake in it was this Wonderama Snake Can winner. You know, and it's crazy, like, why do I know that now? Because of the Beastie Boys. But why did the Beastie Boys think this should be on a multi-platinum record?
Yeah, like we were saying, though, that was what they were into, and if they grew up around New England,
here they'd be talking about Zoom and
Creature double feature, or the movie Loft.
Dana Herzog.
Yeah.
Or
it would definitely be a Dana.
Actually, it's interesting is they do have like a connection to around here with the Carvel cake thing. You know about that?
Yeah.
Where that guy would approach Ad Rock and say that the guy who owned Tom Carvel was his uncle.
Oh no!
And they were going to need his permission if they wanted to use Cookie Puss because of the cake.
Oh.
And there's a story about it that Ad Rock tell. I've seen Ad Rock tell.
Right.
But so. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's places in the country where people like Cookie Puss is a real thing.
Yeah.
There's a cake? What are we talking about? Yeah, it's very regional, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So Flute Loop.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Do It.
What is
Do It?
Sure what it is.
That's the one that has Bismarck.
I haven't put this on in so long. We'll have to put this on at some point.
Yeah.
This record has so much on it too.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's a long record.
In the good news, I can't read this book either. Out of the question. Do It. How's Do It go?
It's let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
I don't want to embarrass myself on this.
No. So I guess one of the more forgettable ones
is Do It.
I guess. Yeah. Which Ricky's theme.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Heart Attack Man, one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's one of the hardcore songs.
I mean, maybe, of the whole Beastie Boys catalog, maybe one of the best. Top 5 songs.
Yeah. And Ricky's theme, that might be one of my favorite of those
that's
instrumentals.
Awesome, too. Heart Attack, man. My man, he goes pretty hefty. The Scoop.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Shambhala.
Yep.
Yep. The Bodhisattva Vow.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean...
This is where they mixed, like, the Gregorian chanting with beats.
Yep. And transitions.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
I would argue the MCA. It's like the side. If this was like on,
it's MCA
like
solo record.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine how sick it would be if they had Beastie Boys solo records like the Kiss ones with just their faces on them, but no makeup, but painted by the same guy. That would be brilliant. You know what? I feel like it's a more sophisticated Check Your Head. Type of thing.
Yeah.
Probably it's superior.
Yeah.
Even though that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, Heart Attack Man alone will sell it to me.
Yeah.
Tough Guy.
Yep.
B-boys making with the freak.
Which that has that sample. I'm gonna. I knew this was gonna be this
kind of party. I'm gonna stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Yeah, amazing. Classic.
So,
I first bought that. I bought it on a cassette, and the cassette was green. I remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still have it.
I think my Paul's Boutique one was a blue one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So after this record, Hello Nasty, which was 4 years later.
It's in here somewhere. There it is.
And we were talking about this one before as maybe their worst record, which isn't to say it's a bad record, obviously.
Right. I would say it's the one I go back to the least.
Yeah.
Although if I get on a kick with the videos from it online, I might watch a bunch of them. Yeah. They're good.
And as we started going through it
and the first song, the opening track, is definitely a complete classic. Super Disco Breakin' is 50 cups of coffee and it's on.
Yeah, it's got a catchy hook.
Breaking dawn. Yep. And then, it's a little too, I don't know what the word is. I can't describe it. It's not DIY enough. It's not punky enough in that regard, where it's still punky, but not like it feels like a produced, like a record.
Yeah.
Like a product of that.
Like someone said, hey, guys, put out I don't know. Yeah.
And it doesn't have that feeling like they made it in the basement anymore for some reason. But it's amazing shit on it. Super Disco Breakin' is awesome.
Yeah. Remote Control.
Song for the Man. Yeah. Body Moving is amazing.
Yeah. And Intergalactic, that was
the video is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 MCs and 1 DJ.
Yeah.
We'll be getting down with no delay.
Yeah.
Yep. So it is. Oh, Negotiation Limerick File.
Yeah.
Yep.
Electricity.
So, see, it's crazy. We're like, that's not that good. But now we're like, oh, it's really fucking good. Again, would they follow the blueprint? Oh, no pun intended. Of Paul's Boutique, with the lyrics being just stream of consciousness.
Yeah, one long.
That reading is out of the question.
Yeah, I would never be able to read that again at this point.
Yeah. So overall, definitely not my favorite, but. Yeah, again, they never made a bad record.
Yeah,
I could put it on and be totally happy with it right now. So, yep.
And then after this, they did the 5 Boroughs, which came out.
That's a tight record, man.
6 years later, So.
Yeah, this record was one that I spent. Me and Ian did a lot of time in the van with this record. Check it out. Right now. 3 the Hard Way.
Yeah.
Time to Build, Rhyme the Rhyme Well, I mean...
And who produced, is this one that they did themselves? This one, I didn't spend that as much time on this one.
Let's see. Mixed by Super Engineer. Beastie Boys and John Weiner.
Yeah.
Mixmaster Mike is the turntablist.
Yep.
Everything else is, them.
Right.
Yeah. And it has, again, with some of the great videos for this one. The videos have always been so entertaining.
Yep.
And I would argue that it's got a ton of classic stuff on it. It's just great. This is the one with the Wonderama Snake Can winner, as a matter of fact. The Brouhaha. Oh, man. The Crawl Space. I remember people being bummed out on that one.
Yeah.
Remember that
Why is that? No.
I'm in the crawl space. It's
yeah.
It's got like I don't know what the effect is, almost like a phaser effect or something on the vocal. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in the crawl space. Open Letter to New York City is amazing.
Yep.
Shazam. All lifestyles, all shapes and forms. That's it. That's all. Hey, fuck you. How are you going to go wrong with a song called Hey, Fuck You? Yeah. Classic.
Nice.
Good record.
The Mix Up.
Yeah, love
it. So that's an instrumental.
That's an instrumental record, yeah. And here it is. This one has some really amazing shit on it too. Are you familiar with this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Off the Grid is my favorite for sure.
Yeah, this and I've made some playlists with a lot of stuff from this mixed in with the instrumentals from the other records. And
definitely.
They do this stuff well.
I love it. Yeah, and it was so much fun to see them do it live.
Yeah,
and I always wished that they would do more of it, because we both know that there's hundreds of hours of tape of shit that they played that they're like, nah, whatever.
Right.
And I feel like the Beastie Boys are one of the few bands that could literally get away with just cull 60 minutes off of a cassette onto this shit, and I will buy it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because whatever's in there, there's some gems in there.
Yeah, jam sessions that they, coming up with this stuff. Yeah. Definitely.
Dramatically different.
Yeah.
Kangaroo Rat, yeah.
Yeah.
This is great stuff. Interesting, too, is that this was a point where I remember at shows people getting upset when they would play the instrumental parts.
Yeah, that seems pretty ridiculous.
It does, but it would happen all the time. Like, I would see them, people would go, oh, fuck, they're going to play instruments now, and they would, like, go take a piss, get a beer, whatever. Yeah, and it was very weird. Yeah,
that's weird.
I don't know. It was like... it was like you had to be that level of... Some people, I guess, were just about the rhymes, you know, about the lyrics. Yeah. What was it? Frank Zappa said that, how hard it is to sell a record with no lyrics on it.
Right.
You know, so maybe it's true,
Yeah. So then their last record, the Hot Sauce Committee.
Yep. Which is, man, you know, going out on a high note.
Yeah, 2011.
I'm going to say, for sure. Make Some Noise is amazing.
And this had the
classic
video
sounding track.
Talking about
the
before.
long form video of it's called Fight for Your Right Revisited.
Yeah.
And it starts where Fight for Your Right ended.
Right.
And it's the songs from this record over a short film.
Right. Yeah.
I think Make Some Noise is the first track in.
Right.
Too Many Rappers.
Yep.
With Nas is, again, you know, the Beastie Boys, and it's almost got that one's one of the rare times with them, because they're always so peaceful and they want everyone to get along. It's almost threatening.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. That might be Nas though.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but there's a couple of great videos off of this one too. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Yeah, their videos are always Tadlock's Glasses, crazy ass shit. Yeah, this is a cool record.
Yeah.
I remember being worried about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh no, they're gonna blow it.
Right.
And they didn't.
No,
they didn't.
no.
It's really good. I think we all would agree. We wish we could hear the Hot Sauce Committee Part 1.
Yeah, yeah. Is that something that?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe
just,
you know, who knows?
Right.
I do think that there's a story about it. They did that thing. Did you see where they toured their book and told all the stories?
Yeah.
I think there's a story about why it's called Part 2.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't believe there's actually a Part 1.
Right.
Although if that turns up down the road somewhere, I'll be in.
Yeah. Definitely.
Beastie Boys, interestingly enough, also one of the bands that there aren't a lot of bands that I did this with, but with the Beastie Boys, I went out of my way to collect bootlegs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of bands like Rush. I did too.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't have a bunch of. I love Genesis to death.
Right.
I don't have hardly. I have a handful of Genesis bootlegs. The Beastie Boys. I think it's interesting to hear these songs over the same song over many years in a live performance. How they're, you know, able to still sound that way when they were 40.
Yeah. Yeah, they did, like, late in their era. There's a set of them doing a bunch of hardcore covers.
And I'm sure it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that show? It's a whole show. It's on YouTube, the one from Amsterdam.
No.
In the nightclub. Oh, my God. So they went to Amsterdam and decided to play a warm-up show before a world tour at a nightclub in Amsterdam. That's like this room.
Yeah.
And it's... Well, absolutely, when we're done with this, you're going to see this clip of them doing Shake Your Rump.
Oh, nice.
Because it will blow your mind how tight it is. I can't even believe it. And right now, I'm going to laugh out loud thinking about it, just watching this video going, you know, how does the whole world not realize how sick these dudes are? They're so talented. And Mixmaster, I would point out, too, do you agree that they never had a DJ that wasn't above and beyond, like...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Never had a passable DJ.
No, not at all.
Every DJ they ever had was amazing.
Yeah.
Arguably got better as they went along, maybe.
Definitely.
Although, I had like a soft spot for Hurricane.
Yeah.
It was really down at that point.
Yeah.
But Mixmaster Mike, man...
Yeah.
He's ignorant. I mean, that's just crazy that you can play an instrument like that, or a record player, whatever you play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. People that say that's not musicianship are wrong.
Yeah. So how do you think their legacy? So sadly, a year or so after Hot Sauce Committee was released, MCA died, which was
passed
really
away.
sad. And that was one of those, another one of these, like, you know, people like John Lennon die, and George Harrison, and, you know, these
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, but these people that we sort of came up with, like when Jeff Hanneman died from Slayer.
Oh, that one hurt.
That was, you know, someone I identified with, and then so this guy was.
Oh,
you know,
he
when he died, and just because at this point too, he had for years been doing all this sort of positive.
Yeah, just a positive force on.
Just seemed like the sweetest guy in the.
Oh, you know. Just the, dude that was like. He's like a monk or something.
Yeah,
almost. You know, he had that kind of thing, and just so phenomenally talented in so many ways. As far as he's one of the sickest MCs of all time, and he's not one of those guys to me that got better because he died. That's who he was at before he died. He was so crazy that that one hurts still now. Like, I still haven't read the book. They put out the book.
Yeah, I have the book. I haven't read it.
I haven't read it, and Ian got it, and he was asking me if I had read it, and I said no, and he said why, and I said I kind of feel like if I read the book, I have to admit that it's over. Yeah. Because there's a book now.
Yeah. I know.
You know, and I'm almost like, still, he's one of the. We've lost a giant. Yeah. That's terrible. And
so their legacy for in music do you think it's recognized? Yeah,
I think I have absolutely no. First, I don't really care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah, but absolutely, they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if there's going to be a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Right. They are, I think, cemented as at this point, it's classic rock. Yeah. You know, and I think that I don't think the time will ever come where anybody that's a white rapper does not have to have somebody at some point tell him to his face that the Beastie Boys made it possible or something like that. You know, definitely. They'll be attached to breaking genres down forever. I think. Yeah. And I think their records and their influence is going to be huge. I think that's where it's going to be bigger than them being remembered, or because we all know, you know, that because of Yauk's will and all that, they would never ever can use any Beastie Boys music in a commercial purpose. Yeah. So you'll never hear it in the mall or on a whatever, but forever musicians in every genre of music will cite it as an influence, I think. Yeah. You know, I mean, then when he died, the amount of videos that popped up on YouTube of bands that night that played a Beastie Boys tribute off the cuff. Yeah. I mean, fucking Coldplay. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that, like the Beatles, a lot of people probably want to punch me out for saying something like that, but I think that, like the Beatles, if your band or your favorite band came out after the Beastie Boys, it was influenced by the Beastie Boys, whether you know it or not. Yeah. So I think that's their legacy forever, and I just hope that Ad Rock and Mike D just keep doing something. You know. Yeah. And I've seen them pop up a few times doing some things that are pretty funny, and they keep hinting at doing something. Right. So maybe we'll see. They're notoriously slow anyway. Yeah, of course. I mean, look at the length of the career and look at the little pile of records. Yeah, when you look at it, and then you look at the years between each, 86, 89, 92, 94, 98. And there's not a lot of bands, I don't think, that have the fan base that will tolerate waiting. We got one record, it's got to last us 4 years. Yeah. You know? I mean, and I think the other thing that they'll be remembered for always is the cross-pollination, not of just the genres musically, but of the fan bases. Yeah, the fan bases. First shows where I can remember literally being at a Beastie Boys show, audience was like being at a festival. Yeah. Everybody, there's some hippies, some goths, a metalhead, like Lollapalooza, somebody's dad. Yeah, but it was just them. Yeah. And that's awesome. Yeah, definitely. So I think they're legends for sure. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, listener.
Yeah,
and,
please.
If you're not a fan of the Beastie Boys, you definitely should be.
And if you're not a fan and you want to mess with it, just because whatever the first thing you hear is you don't like, don't give up on it.
Yeah.
Everything is so dramatically different every 30 seconds. It's like they say about the New England weather. Just skip ahead 5 or 10 seconds and it'll change.
Yeah, and I'll probably throw a YouTube playlist together of some good songs.
Yeah. It'll be huge.
All right. Thanks, man.